Hello and welcome to the webinar on Revisit PowerPoint Books. This webinar we wanted to take a look at how you can create books for your students, and also your students can create books. So we're going to show you how that looks, and it's been a while since we've done a PowerPoint book webinar, and so we just wanted to revisit that and look at some of the ideas that you can do for creating books for your students. And as I said, having them create books also. My name is Linda Daly, and I am an Assistive Technology Specialist with the Special Education Technology Center. And the goal for today is that you are going to learn how to create and import pictures and text to create pages in a book, be able to read recordings of text being read aloud, and then add sound and visual effects to your pages. So we're going to keep it pretty simple today for the basics of a book, and then we'll show you a book that's been created. But hopefully from there you can take it as expansive as you would like to. The basic steps in creating a PowerPoint book are you go ahead and you scan in pages or pictures that you want to put on the pages of your book. You bring in images, pictures you've taken, and you put them all in one folder where your book will be saved. That's just my tip for your organization, that you can just keep it all in one folder so that when you're going to build the book, you're not having to go all over your computer to look for the different files. And then you're going to decide on the format of the book. Do you want it to be a portrait book? Do you want it to be a landscape book? How big? And so you decide that. And then you go ahead and create your title page, because that tends to be different from the rest of the pages in your book. And then you can create a page template for the rest of your book, because there's certain features that will just go from page to page. So why create them multiple times? Why not just create them once? And then once you have that template, you can just keep duplicating your pages and then create your individual pages. Once you have those pages, once you've created them, you can actually add a recording of the pages being read so that your students can hear it read back to them if you want that option. And then you can add other sounds and effects if you want. And then once the whole thing's together, I prefer to save it as a show so that I can play it back on any computer. So that's just kind of the basic outline. I always like to have a basic outline before I get started. So that's what I wanted to just give you in that first slide. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and share my computer, my screen, so that you can see what I'm doing from here on out. So this is just a website I gave you that talks about the Chafee Amendment. That I gave it to you, the link at the end. And what the Chafee Amendment talks about is that we can actually make copies of books for students who have print disabilities. It's very specific who you're allowed to do that for. So this wouldn't be something you do for all your classes. I just want you to be aware of copyright laws. I'm more thinking that you're going to be creating books from scratch, but sometimes we do have a need to create a book that we want our student to read that can't read it, whether they can't see it or they can't turn the pages. So I just wanted to give you that link to this brief on the Chafee Amendment that talks about that copyright law. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint on this screen now. And I'm watching my other computer because I know that what you're seeing happens a little slower than what I'm seeing on my screen. So at this point, I'm hoping you're all seeing the setup step. And there are some first steps you want to do to set up for your book. And I always create a folder on Windows for my new book. I'm assuming that everyone is proficient enough with Windows that you know what I'm talking about there. If that is not the case, or you want me to go into that further, go ahead and say that in the chat, or you can even send me an email and I can show you how to do that. But you would create a new folder on your drive, and then in that folder is where you put all of your images that you want to use for your book. Now again, you want to keep copyright laws in mind when you're doing this. You can't just go out and do a Google search for any picture and bring it in. But there is a way to do a Google search, and you can actually find images that are legal to use for you to use. And so what you would do is when you go to your Google search, you go to Images, and then you'll see Tools and Usage Rights and Labels for Reuse. So I'm just going to show you that really quickly because actually when I found this, I was really happy to find this. So I'm going to pull up the web again, and I'm just going to come over here, and I'm just going to do a Google search on a black lab, and you'll see why. You can see that that's what my book is going to be about. So when I do that, I get here and I say I want to look at images, but I don't want to look at all the pages. I just want to look at images. So I'm clicking right there where it was on images. And then I want to come over here to Tools right here. And I'm hoping you can see my mouse where I've highlighted that. And then under Tools, you see Usage Rights. So in a minute here, I think you're going to see that. Taking yours a little bit longer than mine, but now I think you can see Usage Rights. And when you click on that, you get an option of not filtered by license, labeled for reuse with modification, labeled for reuse, labeled for non-commercial reuse. And so you can choose which one of these. And so I usually do labeled for reuse. And that way I know I'm getting something. But you can then choose which one you want to use and know that you're getting images that are not copyrighted, and it's legal for you to use that. So I just wanted to show you that because I think it's important that we do pay attention to copyright. So the next thing, now that you've got all of your pictures and anything in your folder, so here's my folder. It's going to come up in just a second. I'm going to do a book on my pet Ashley. So I have a picture I've taken of my son with the dog, and then I have some pictures that I've downloaded from the Internet. I have a sound file that I've downloaded from the Internet. Again, it was from a non-copyrighted source. It comes from soundbible.com, and it says you can reuse it, and as long as you give credit. So that's the kind of copyright it has. And then I have a couple of the actual books that I'll show you at the end here. We're going to go ahead and start creating one, but I won't create the whole thing, but then I'll show you the actual book that I've created. So this is my file. You can see it's Pet Ashley Sample Book. So I'm ready to go to create my actual book. So the first thing you do is you pull up your PowerPoint, which you've seen I had a PowerPoint up here. And now I'm just going to do a new PowerPoint. And I actually wanted to go through this whole process with you because I know you all know how to open a PowerPoint, but it's where you're going to choose your size. So I usually choose a blank presentation for my book. If you want some formatting already there, feel free to do it. There's actually some themes that look like books, so you can do that if you want. For my example, I'm just going to use a blank one. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose what size I want. So I can either have a blank slide and then just use the blank layout. So I come up here to layout and I go to blank, and that would be a blank slide. That's actually what I'm going to use. But I just wanted you to know that you could go to the design, and you can choose your slide size right here, over here to the right. And you can actually change your slide. You can have it standard or widescreen or a custom slide size. And at that point, you can choose to do a portrait book or landscape, and you can choose your width. So it's really just how you would do it on the PowerPoint, but not everybody knows that you can change all of these things, so I just wanted to show you that. I'm not going to do it at this point. I want a book that is in landscape mode because I'm just doing a basic book that I think a small child would read, a young child would read. So, but I did want to show you those two options. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have my blank slide here. I'm going to go ahead and make my title slide. I want my title slide to be just a big picture of a black lab, and it'll have the title of the book and the author. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and insert my picture. So I go to Insert, and I go to Pictures, and then I had that file of where the books were. So I have to do this once, and then it'll default to this. But if I go to my pet Ashley sample, so now you can see I have all those books in there. So I'm just going to pick this picture of the black lab, and I'm going to insert it. And as you notice, it doesn't cover the whole page, and I want it to, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it down and have it cover the whole page. So I'm just resizing that picture. So it'll just take a minute for you to see that on your screen that I've done it. I'm just going to give it a chance to go ahead and resize it for you. Okay. And then we've got our picture in there. So there's our title with our picture, but we also want the title of the book in there. So we go ahead and we insert a text box. So we just go ahead and insert the text box. You can insert it wherever you'd like. I'm just going to put it over here for now. And I'm going to go ahead and set my text to be white because on this colored background, white is going to show up for that. And so I'm going to say my pet Ashley, because that was our dog's name, by Linda Daly. And I don't know if you noticed, but I typed by with a lowercase b, and PowerPoint knew to make it an uppercase B. So that's just a little word prediction feature that will help our students. So I just wanted to point that out to you. If you want to add any special effects to your text, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and center it so it's all centered in this. And I didn't center both lines in that case, but I'm just going to center it. You could add any of the usual type of fonts and shadows that you wanted to. So just for the sake of time today, I'm not going to do a ton of those, and I think that's probably one most people know how to do, so that's why I'm just going to move past that. But there's my title slide. Very quick, easy to do. And then what we want to do next is we want to actually make a template for our regular pages. But before I do that, I just want to mention that this slide, although this picture came from the Creative Commons license, I still need to put right down here in a text box the image where I got it. And this image happened to have come from a site called Pexels. So I can just enter another text box down here, and I'm going to do that. Just real quick on this first one, I'm not going to do this on every one of the slides just for the sake of demonstration. But here I could just say image courtesy of Pexels. And then I could actually make a link to the site that I got that from so that we are citing it correctly. And then you can make that as big or small as you want. I tend to make my citations a little bit smaller just because I don't think they need to be quite as big as the rest of the, and it could be a little bigger than that, I think. But just so it's not as big as all of the text that you're wanting your students to read. So just want to make that notation that we want to do that. And then when we're all done and we like it, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our page template for all the other pages in our book. So what I'm going to do here is you can either do new slide up at the upper left, and you can choose your type of slide. And I, again, usually do a blank slide to start with. Now you can do it one of two ways. You can do it just like I showed you, or you can always right-click on a slide and that option comes up also. So I'll show you the right-click when we duplicate it. So we've got another blank slide. What we need to put on our template is our navigation buttons so that our students can go forwards and backwards. So what we want to do is we want to put a navigation arrow down on the bottom left and the bottom right is the way I like to do it. You can do it however you want. You can also do an extra navigation button that would take them all the way back to the beginning. So for this one, I'm just going to show you how to do the left and the right one. And so I'm going to go Insert, and I'm going to say Shape. And at the very bottom of Shape, you have Action buttons. So they've already added the action to them. So I'm going to start with my back button. And so then I've selected that, and then I just create it by just holding my mouse and dragging the size I want it to be. And actually, that's a little bigger than I want. I'll change that in a minute. So right here, the next thing it says is Action Settings. you can do an action on click none, or it can hyperlink to the previous slide. That's what I want it to do. When the student clicks on that, it will hyperlink to the previous slide. And then I just say, okay. Now I want that to be a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to resize that a little bit. And now I want to have a right arrow for my next page. This is my back page, but I want one for my right page, but I want them to be the same size. So what I will often do is I will just copy it and paste it, and so that then what I can do is just move this one over here and then line it up, and then I just go ahead and now I insert another shape, and I do come down to action buttons, and I do my right arrow, and I just line it up so that I can copy right over this one so that I get them the same size. And then I go ahead and say, this is going to be the hyperlink to the next slide, and I say okay. And then I move it, and I just delete this. It's kind of a quick and dirty way to do it. It's not really all that slick, but I think it works really well. And then I can bring it down, and I don't know if you're seeing it on your screen, but I can see that I've got it at the right position because I see the line that goes from the left one to the right one. So then I know I have them in line from top to bottom, and I also have them the same size. So that is my template that I have. You could make other features on your template if you want them, but I just want to make sure that I don't always have to do this piece every time. At this point, it's really important that you save your work, because I tend to save it each time I do some major piece of it, so that you are not going to lose what you've done. So you would just want to come up to the file and save as. So that would be just something I want to remind you to do, is this would be a really good point, the time to save it. I am not going to do that only because mine saves to my OneDrive, and that's going to use my internet, and I just don't want to take any chances that I'm going to mess anything up on the webinar using any more internet than I need to. So, but I do want you to remember to save it. So now we have our page template, and now we can start actually creating our pages. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this page 3 times. So I'm going to say duplicate slide, and duplicate slide. So you just want to make sure you always have some empty slides ahead of you so that you don't have to recreate this once you put information on that page. So then once you've gone ahead and done that, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add a picture and a caption for every page. So the first page, I'm just going to have a picture that says, I'm just going to have another picture of my dog, and it's going to say, my pet is a black lab named Ashley. So I'm actually going to use the same picture I have, and so I'm just going to insert, and I'm going to go ahead and insert the picture again, and I'm going to bring this picture in, insert it, and this time I want it to be a little smaller. I just want it to go like this. And so then I just have my picture here. You could make background color on this slide if you would like to do that. And so you could do any of those things that you wanted to do if you wanted some of that to be in the background. And so you could have a picture border, you could have picture effects, picture layout, any of those kinds of things with the framing. So I'm just kind of going across so that you could see what we could do with it, different picture styles. So, and then we're going to go ahead and just insert our text box, and it's going to say, my pet is a black lab named Ashley. So I'm just sort of thinking that maybe we would do an activity where everybody makes a book that's about their pet. So, and then I like those centered, so I have it centered. So that's how I have that. And so you can see each one of these pages is basically created the same way. It's a matter of where you place things. And so I've gone ahead and done that. And then if you want, at this point, you can add a recording of this page being read so that your student could hear it being read. So at that point, we're going to go ahead and insert. And again, it's just on your Insert tab, and you come over here, and it's audio in the newer versions of PowerPoint, and it's sound in the older versions. So I don't know when it switched. I know in Office 2007 it was sound. I know in 2013 and 16 it's audio, and I'm not sure about 2010. But it's going to be in the same place. It's either going to say sound or audio. And you'll have a choice if you want to record it or if you want to bring in a sound file that's already on your PC. So in this case, I am going to go ahead and just record my audio. And so you're going to get your recording screen, and you can get the red button. You can actually name the sound file, which is kind of nice sometimes. You could just name it Ashley Book Page 1, so that if you needed to create the book and you just wanted that on there, you have it. And then you can just go ahead and press the red button, and you can do your recording. Again, I'm a little hesitant to do this because it's going to go out to the Internet, and these are the kinds of things that can sometimes make the webinar crash. So I think all of us have probably done something like this. So if you'll forgive me, I'm not going to do it right here in our demonstration, but you would just click the audio red button. When you were done, you would click the square in the middle, and then you could play it back with the playback button, listen to it. If you wanted to re-record it, you just hit the record again and record it till you're happy, and then just go ahead once you're happy and hit the OK button, and then you'll have that recording. And what it will do is it will show a little speaker down here. And once you have that little speaker down there, then you can actually manipulate your audio and do things like that with it. So you can move that little speaker anywhere on the page where you want it. And so that if you wanted it someplace where your student could click on it, you could put it where it would be obvious. If it's in the grass, he or she's probably not going to see it. But if you put it over in the white space, or if this was light blue, you'd be able to see that. So I would just, but you would have the little recording, and I'll show you that in just a little bit when I show you the actual book that I've completely finished. So what you want to do on that, though, I'm going to actually go to that book right now, I think, because I do want to show you that. So let me just pull up the book I have completed for you, and then we can show you that and some of the things that you can do with that. So let me just pull that one up. And it is I will just pull up my sample book, My Dog Ashley. So I have this one here, and you can see that I did put the background in that one. So, and that was just on the design part of the slide. You could just do that. But what you see here is the little, I hope you can see that down below. Whoops, your screen isn't seeing what I'm seeing, so I'm going to wait a second. Now, next to the right arrow, you can see the little audio icon. So when you click on that, I just want to hover over it. I don't want to actually get to this. You can actually get to your, if you just click on that, once you click on it, which is what I just did, just a minute, I need to move I'm going to move these here. And I'm actually going to use this little arrow to point with, whoops, I stopped sharing my desktop just a second. I clicked on the wrong thing accidentally. I'm going to use one of these little pointers so you can see it. Right here is where I click, and then up here at the top, and I'm hoping you can see that. It might take a minute. What happened is my audio tools showed up. So I have my audio tools at the top, and there's a format and a playback. So I wanted you to see that. You could then once you click on that, you'll see your playback tools. So I need to go ahead and go out of that. And so once I go to playback, I can click on playback. And again, I believe this is probably because I'm on the webinar that you're not able to see this because it's having to go out to the internet to do this. But on your playback Playback Tools, you'll have an option that tells you where you want to start it. And you can say start on click or start automatically. And I do have I'm going to show you, I have multiple ways I can do this for you. So just 1 second, I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to show you this screenshot of it. Since it's not showing up on I can at least show you this screenshot of it. Let me get to it. Add recording of the book. There you go. In just a second, you're going to see that screenshot of it. And so it's right down here. And what it's going to say is, it's going to show you to start, and you're going to be able to select automatically or start on click. Now, the difference between that is, if you want your student to have the option to listen to it being read or not, you'd want it to start on click. And then your student would have to click on that little speaker to have it read to them automatically. But if you want it to just read the book to them without them having to do anything, you would say start automatically, and then as soon as it goes to the next page, it would just do the reading for you. So that is, and that will typically, when you click on that speaker, you will get these playback tools, and you'll be able to see that. But again, I apologize because sometimes when I'm on the webinar, some of those things in the actual presentation just don't show up. So, but I do have the screenshot here, and I have that for you in the PowerPoint. So that's how you will get that recording to be there for your student. There is one thing, as long as I'm in here, I'm going to tell you this. When you're in an older version of PowerPoint, if you want to be able to save this as a show and be able to take it and use it on different computers for different students, you do have to change a setting, and on the PowerPoint that will be explained, because there's a maximum sound file setting that has to be changed, and I explain it in here, and then I go ahead and I show it to you again with a screenshot so that you'll know how to do that. So that's just a little tip if you're using an older version of PowerPoint, because I know we all have multiple versions that we might be using. So that's the sound file. Now you can also add an extra sound file. So you don't have to do a recording. And let me get back to my book I was working on. So you could, at this point, insert a sound file from File, and it's audio on my PC, and that's where I would go ahead and select this, and then I have already downloaded a file, and I'm just going to show you where it is. On that folder I showed you, I have downloaded a file of a Labrador barking. So then you could insert that, and again, it could play automatically, or you could put a little text box that says, click here to hear a dog barking, or something like that. And then your student could click there, and they could hear that sound file barking. And I have this all created, so I will show it to you when we're all done here. I'll show you the book that I created that has some of those things in it. So that's how you create your page, and you put your text and your sound file in it. So if we look at this, what we would do now is we would just come to our next page, and we could go ahead and we could insert another picture if we wanted. And so, I could do the lab running and insert that. And then, again, you could size it the way you want it to be. You could then put your text down here, and you could read your text. So that's how you just keep creating your pages till you're all done. Remember to cite your pages where you got them. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and show you the book I created so you can see how this all looks when it comes together. And then I will talk about some other things you can do. So so let me go ahead, and I'm gonna hope this works. I actually meant to test this, and I did not. So let's hope this is going to work for us. But you guys let me know in the chat if you're not seeing the book. I believe you'll be hearing it. It's only from my computer, but you should be seeing it. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to I'm a little leery to do this, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to do the show. So, and I thought I had that in here, so I'm not sure which one of these might be the show. Microsoft Power presentation. Here it is. So I'm going to show you the one that I've already created, and like I say, we'll just hope it's working. Dog, Ashley, by Linda Daly. You're not seeing it yet. There you go. It's a little slow for you. My dog is a black lab. Her name is Ashley. And that I was afraid of that. With doing it on the web, you're not going to see it fast enough for the words to stay with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just show it to you within the PowerPoint. I'll just do a PowerPoint. I'll just do the show within PowerPoint. So let me open that one back up and let's see if we can get it to come up for you so you can see the book all done. I'm hoping it will work. This is one of the things we sometimes don't. So here it is. And you'll see it in just a second. So this is the one that I created for you, and I'll show it to you, and then I'll explain some things to you. So I'm going to go slideshow and from beginning, and so we'll see how this will work for us. My dog, Ashley. It's not going to work any better. So. My dog is a black lab. Her name is Ashley. I'm going to let you, even though the sound doesn't go correctly with what you're seeing, I'm going to let you see this and see how it goes. But what I'm noticing on my screen is you're not seeing the transitions that I want you to see. So I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that there's not really anything I can do that way. But what I would like to just tell you is some of the things that I'll just point out some of the things that we did on this so that you can see what you could do for your students. So the first one is I wanted to show you that I did some transitions. So I did a transition that when you're looking at the actual show makes it look like pages are turning. So that's as simple as just choosing transitions on your upper ribbon, and then I just chose the one that said cover, and then it does it. You can do it automatically, and then I told it to do it after a certain amount of time. And that way it gave time for that slideshow to just play automatically. But I did the time, which is over on the right side. It tells you advanced slide after. I make the time a little bit longer than most of us would want so that the student could still do the right arrow button if they would choose to turn the page. But if you have a student who has access needs, you might want it to turn the page automatically for them. So that's under transition, and then you choose the transition from slide to slide, and then you do advanced slide, and you tell it after so many seconds. So that's how you would do that, and I'm sorry you couldn't see that, but I wanted to make sure you knew how to do that. And then you also can, like I said, you can actually just put a microphone here, and you can see it down at the lower right, where it could be that sound file of the dog barking, and you could say, click here to hear a dog barking. So you can add those things to it. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is there's a couple of ways you can do this without going through every page like I did. So this was a very basic way to do it. It doesn't take a lot of time. But there's also an option that you could, if you wanted to start your slideshow, you could come up here to File. Let's see if we're going to get there. And we could do a new blank presentation, and you would do all of your setup like we did before, and you'd get it all set up to the size you want. And then what you could do is come up to Insert, and then one of the options, instead of picture or online picture or screenshot, is photo album. So all of those pictures that I had, you can just choose to enter them all at one time. So you could do photo album, you could do a new photo album, and then you would look on your computer where you wanted to find it. You could give it some of the layout right here where you wanted to choose. We want to insert it from the file or disk. And then see, I have all those pictures right in that one folder. And I could just click them all. And you can just, hold down your Shift key and choose them all or choose the ones you want. And then you would just insert them. And again, I'm a little hesitant to do this, but we'll try. And so then it just shows you all the pictures, and you get to choose the ones you want to put in the album. And then you're going to say, and you can tell it the layout. You can fit it to the slide. You can do 1 picture, 2 pictures, 4 pictures, so you get some formatting right here. You can do a theme. So remember I had that background. You could choose your theme right here if you wanted to make a background on your slide. And then you would create it, and it's just going to make that for you. So there's your book already created, or a photo album if you wanted to do an end-of-the-year photo album. So I wanted to show you that because that is so slick, and you're able to do that so quickly. The other thing I wanted to show you is if you do not want to record each page by itself, if you want to have your students have the option to have it read to them or not read to them, you need to do each page by itself. But if you know for sure you just want that read all the way through, you can go ahead and you go to Slideshow and you go Record Slideshow. And that's actually how I did that book that just kept reading and you kept hearing my voice off of my computer. But it will just go through each slide and you can read the caption. And so then you can just very quickly, you could just go ahead and record that all at one time. Just know, though, that then once your student plays the slideshow, they're going to get it read to them all the time. So I wanted to show you a couple of those little things that could make it very quick and easy for you to make one for your students, or if you have a student you think would do better with that. And then you can change your timings and things like that when you do the record slideshow. So I wanted to show you that. You can do some fun things with animations. I knew I wouldn't have time today to show you everything, but you can do some fun things. You can have things fly in. So you can do lots of fun things, just like any PowerPoint, and then it would work. So we actually, I didn't expect this, but we finished a little bit early. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or if you want me to see how anything else works. I'm sorry that some of it doesn't work when I'm in presentation mode on the webinar presentation. But if we have any, if you have any questions, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any. And I do just want to point out, let me see, on my dog Ashley, that I did put I did actually put the citations on each of the pages. And then on the last page, I went ahead and listed where my, and it'll be just a second before you see that, where my images came from and then where my sound file came from. So I did cite those. So, and I'm happy to send you this book if that would be helpful for you to just see one created. And I can send it to you as a PowerPoint so that you can play with it. If that's something you'd like, just go ahead and let me know in the chat. Just say yes, please. None of you are muted, so you can all talk too if you want to unmute yourself. But I'm happy to send you this sample. Okay. Well, I think we're going to just finish early then today. So thank you very much for joining, and I will get both the PowerPoint and the sample book out to you. So thank you very much.
You need to